All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Our focus today is a pretty profound one: a returned heart, a restored land. We're unpacking a fascinating historical record from 1 Samuel chapter 7. And listen, this isn't just dry, ancient history. It's honestly a mirror reflecting our very own human tendencies today. We're going to break down the actual mechanics of true spiritual renewal, how it really works, and why, if we're being honest, we often get it so incredibly wrong. So to really get what's going on in this ancient text, we actually have to start by looking inward. Ask yourself, what is your hidden insurance policy? Seriously, think about it for a second. When life gets tough, when the bottom just completely falls out, what is your ultimate safety net? As the author Tim Keller often pointed out, an idol isn't usually just a bad thing we happen to desire. Most of the time, an idol is a profoundly good thing, a gift even, that has somehow taken the place of ultimate importance in our hearts. It becomes that one thing we whisper to in the dark. Hey, as long as I have you, I won't collapse. And these modern insurances function exactly like ancient idols. Just look at the safety nets we build for ourselves. We've got bank account balances, massive career achievements, our social networks, our reputation, or even our kids' success. But you know what's even sneakier? Our religious habits. We tell ourselves, well, I haven't missed a service, I give my offerings, I volunteer. Surely God wouldn't let my life fall apart. It totally looks like faith on the outside, but underneath, it's a transaction. We aren't actually trusting God, we're trusting our own track record with God. We're keeping him around as a backup plan rather than truly crowning him as king. Let's move into section 1. Proximity is not repentance, focusing on the sheer danger of religious form. Right off the bat, the text draws this incredibly sharp line between merely keeping the symbols of God nearby and the spiritual reality of actually giving him your heart. In the chapters leading up to this, the nation of Israel actually lost the Ark of the Covenant to the Philistines. Why? Well, because they treated it like a magic charm. Their logic was basically, if we just drag this religious box out onto the battlefield, God is forced to bless us. They wanted all of God's power with zero submission to his authority. But God simply didn't let himself be used that way. The Ark was captured and the glory departed. 20. That is how many years the Ark of the Covenant eventually sat safely guarded in a place called Kiriath Jearim after it was returned. 2 whole decades. So outwardly, the religious form was completely restored. The ultimate symbol of God was right there nearby. Yet the text tells us the entire nation lamented and was completely miserable. Why? Because possessing a religious object doesn't automatically equal spiritual transformation. I mean, having a Bible sitting on your nightstand doesn't mean God is actively ruling your life, right? Their spiritual recovery was delayed for 20 long years because while their proximity to God was fixed, their hearts hadn't actually returned to him yet. This brings us to section 2, the action plan, which outlines 4 critical steps of true repentance. The prophet Samuel finally steps in and gives the people this brilliant, actionable blueprint for true spiritual renewal. First up, turn completely. The Hebrew word used here is shuv, which implies a literal 180-degree pivot. It's not just feeling kind of bad about what you did, it's actively changing the entire direction of your future. Second, remove the idols. You literally have to take your hands off your hidden insurances. Third, fix your heart on God. Because let's face it, a vacuum in your heart is just going to suck in another idol. You have to actively refocus your ultimate affections on him. And fourth, serve only him. He becomes the absolute, final decision maker in your life. It's not a tweak, it is a total reorientation of your existence. Now, if we zoom in on step 2, removing those idols, getting rid of ancient deities like Baal and Asheroth is honestly the exact same thing as dismantling our modern obsessions. Think about it. Baal was the god of rain and agricultural survival. That was the ancient equivalent of financial security and success. If you wanted a good crop, you went to Baal. And Ashtaroth, she was the goddess of fertility, romance, and pleasure, basically the ancient version of chasing social approval and image. The Israelites were trying to worship God, sure, but they were keeping these other guys around as backups, just in case. And we do the exact same thing today. We worship on the weekend, but then we ruthlessly chase money, power, and status Monday through Friday just to feel truly secure. Samuel's message is clear. Throw the backups away. All right, on to section 3, Mizpah and Ebenezer, the gathering and the stone. Once those idols were finally cleared out, the entire nation gathered at a place called Mizpah. And this location wasn't just picked out of a hat. Mizpah literally translates to watchtower.
A watchtower is where you see everything clearly, from miles away. It signified this intensely powerful moment where all their masks were finally coming off before God. They were stepping into the light, allowing the ultimate watchman to scrutinize their deepest hidden motives, and committing to staying spiritually vigilant over their own hearts from that day forward. And while they were there at Mizpah, they engaged in this incredibly striking physical act of repentance. They fasted, and they poured out water into the dirt before the Lord. Now, context is everything here. In the ancient Near East, water was quite literally survival. And remember who they had just thrown away: Baal, the god of rain. So by pouring out this vital, life-saving resource into the dust, they were making a profound public statement. They were completely rejecting Baal's control over the rain, their crops, and their economy. They were basically declaring, even if we have absolutely nothing left, our total trust for survival is in God alone. Of course, true spiritual renewal doesn't just make all your problems magically vanish. Sometimes it actually paints a huge target on your back. The Philistines caught wind that Israel was all gathered in one place and saw the perfect opportunity to wipe them out. So the army marches straight on Mizpah. Naturally, the Israelites were terrified. But watch what happens here. They didn't run to fetch the Ark of the Covenant to use as a magic weapon. They didn't scramble to pick their hidden insurances back up. Instead, they turned to Samuel and begged him, "Do not stop crying out to the Lord our God for us." This is a massive, fundamental shift in their spiritual DNA. Just look at the contrast. A few chapters earlier, in chapter 4, their fear drove them to use God as a magic charm, right? They were trying to manipulate him into handing them a victory. But here, in chapter 7, their fear drives them straight to their knees in pure submission. It is the exact same fear, the exact same enemy, but a completely different reaction. They finally stopped trying to manage God, and they started submitting to him as their king. And God's response? Absolutely magnificent. As Samuel offered a sacrifice of complete submission, God unleashed this miraculous, deafening thunderstorm that threw the entire Philistine army into a total panic. Israel pursued them and won a massive victory. To commemorate this, Samuel took a large stone and named it Ebenezer, which literally means stone of help. He was declaring, "Thus far the Lord has helped us." And what's incredibly poetic about this is that this victory happened near the exact same location where they had been brutally defeated 20 years earlier. The land of defeat was transformed into the land of help. Why? Because a returned heart truly results in a restored land. Finally, Section 4, a daily covenant renewal, beyond the emotional climax. The text wraps up by showing us what Samuel did next. And honestly, it's pretty telling. He didn't just pack up and take a well-deserved vacation. Instead, he began traveling this continuous circuit year after year, going to Bethel, to Gilgal, to Mizpah, and then back home to Ramah, where he built an altar. He was constantly preaching, judging, and recentering the people. And why this matters for us is huge. Repentance isn't just a one-and-done event at some emotional weekend retreat. We are leaky vessels, guys. By Monday morning, our hearts naturally drift right back to those hidden insurances. Samuel's life circuit shows us that living under God's kingship requires daily, ongoing, and highly intentional renewal. So as we bring this explainer to a close, it leaves us with a really vital question to chew on in our own lives. Are you keeping God as an insurance policy, just a religious habit you maintain in case you ever need a favor? Or have you truly cleared the throne of your heart and crowned him as king? Because, as we've clearly seen today, you can have all the religious proximity in the world, but the real restoration of your life, transforming your personal land of defeat into your Ebenezer, only begins when your heart fully returns. So what hidden insurance policy do you need to pour out into the dust today?